What would come out of your mouth if a cop asked to search your car in the next 10 seconds? Because one wrong answer can turn a simple stop into handcuffs, a tow truck, and a case you never saw coming. And the worst part is a lot of searches start because drivers talk themselves right into them. Hit subscribe right now because when your heart is pounding, you will not remember these lines unless you hear them now. Like this video too, so you can find it fast, the day you actually need it. You're about to learn 6 short things you can say before any search starts, and every one of them can protect you in a different way. I'm going to show you how one sentence blocks fake consent, how another sentence stops you from filling the silence with dangerous words, and how one simple question tells you whether the stop is still legal or if the officer is fishing for more. Here's the reality. Your rights are strongest before you agree, before you explain, and before you try to talk your way out of the moment. I've analyzed over 200 body cam videos, and the same mistake shows up again and again. Drivers keep talking because they think being extra nice will make the risk disappear. It doesn't. In a lot of cases, the smile, the shrug, and the nervous yes are exactly what open the door. By the end of this video, you'll have exact lines you can memorize and use under pressure, even if your hands are shaking and your mind goes blank. Now let's talk about why this matters so much to you. Most people have no idea how fast a normal stop can turn into a search conversation. It starts small. Where are you going? Where are you coming from? You don't mind if I take a quick look, right? That word quick is the trap. That word mind is the trap. The whole thing is built to sound casual, like saying no would be weird. But your job is not to make the stop feel friendly. Your job is to protect your freedom without being rude, without resisting, and without saying anything extra. If you start guessing, joking, apologizing, or trying to prove you have nothing to hide, you give away control. And once you consent, it gets much harder to challenge the search later. That's why smart drivers don't try to win with charm. They win with calm, simple words, said the same way every time. The first thing you say is the most important one of all, and you need this line burned into your memory. Here's exactly what you say. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Word for word, memorize that line. Say it calmly, say it clearly, then stop talking. This is 100% legal. You are not being difficult. You are not picking a fight. You are simply refusing to give permission. Why does that line matter so much to you? Because consent is the easiest shortcut officers use. If you say yes, nod your head, shrug, open the door, hand over the keys, or even say something soft like, I guess that's fine, you may have just made the search easier to defend later. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it creates a clean record. It tells everyone listening later that you did not volunteer your privacy away. Bad way. Most drivers say, I don't have anything, so sure. Then the search starts, and now they've helped build the case against themselves. Good way. Smart drivers say, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then the officer has to rely on some other legal reason, not your permission. Let me show you exactly why that matters. In Schneckloth versus Bustamante, the Supreme Court said a search can be valid if consent was given voluntarily, and police do not have to tell you that you can refuse. Read that again in plain English. They do not have to educate you first. If you act like you agree, that can be enough. That means your protection is not their warning. Your protection is your refusal. Now, that refusal does not mean the officer will always walk away. If they claim they have probable cause, meaning real facts pointing to evidence of a crime, they may search anyway. If they have a warrant, they may search anyway. If they lawfully arrest you in some situations, other rules can kick in. But your goal is not to physically stop them. Your goal is to make it clear that the search is happening without your permission. That matters later. That matters in court. That matters when body cam footage gets reviewed. And yes, your tone matters. You keep your hands visible. You stay seated unless ordered out. You don't argue. You don't pull away. You don't say you know your rights in some angry movie voice. You use one clean sentence. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. That line is strong because it is short. It gives them nothing extra. It doesn't invite debate. It doesn't try to sound smart. It just protects you. Still watching? Good. Drop a like if this is already changing how you think about traffic stops, and tell me in the comments if you've ever been asked for a quick look. The second and third things you say work together, and they shut down one of the biggest mistakes drivers make. You say this, I choose to remain silent. Then you say this, I want a lawyer. Those are 2 separate lines, and both matter to you. If you only stay quiet without clearly saying it, that may not protect you the way you think. Listen closely because this is critical. Silence by itself can be twisted. Clear words are much stronger. Berghaus vs. Tompkins and Salinas vs. Texas taught a hard lesson in plain English. If you want the protection of silence, you often need to clearly say you are using it. Just sitting there, staring, or giving half answers is risky. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. The law has basically said this. If you want the shield, ask for the shield. Don't assume it turns on by itself. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Why are you asking me all this? I'm just going home. My cousin borrowed the car earlier. I don't know what's in the back." Then every extra word becomes a clue, a contradiction, or an excuse to dig deeper. Good way. Smart drivers say, "I choose to remain silent. I want a lawyer." Then the guessing game gets cut off before it grows teeth. Watch what happens when you use these lines the right way. The whole mood of the stop changes. Instead of you filling the space with nervous chatter, the officer now has a clear record that you are not volunteering information. That matters because people talk themselves into trouble all the time. They try to sound innocent and end up sounding inconsistent. They answer one question, then another, then they forget what they said 30 seconds earlier. Now the officer thinks you're lying. Now the stop gets longer. Now your words become part of the reason they push harder. Former police officers have confirmed this works because it changes the flow. It tells the officer you are not going to help build a case against yourself with your own mouth. And no, asking for a lawyer is not an admission of guilt. Smart people ask for lawyers. Careful people ask for lawyers. People who understand consequences ask for lawyers. There's one more reason these lines matter to you. If the officer is being polite and fishing, your silence stops the fishing. If the officer is building toward a search request, your silence gives them less to use. If the officer is hoping you confess to something small so they can go bigger, your silence blocks the whole ladder. You are not there to entertain the conversation. You are there to get through the stop with the least damage possible. So memorize these two. I choose to remain silent. I want a lawyer. Short, clean, repeatable. If they keep asking questions, you keep coming back to the same lines. You do not need a speech, you need a script. The fourth and fifth things you say are about control. You ask this: am I being detained or am I free to leave? Then, if the officer tries to make a request sound like an order, you ask this: are you ordering me to step out or are you asking for my consent? Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. A lot of police conversations live in the gray zone between a command and a request, and that gray zone is where people give away rights by accident. The first question matters because it forces clarity. If you are free to leave, the talk is over. If you are being detained, then everyone knows the stop is still active. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection against getting pulled into endless extra conversation after the traffic part should be done. In Rodriguez v. United States, the Supreme Court said police cannot stretch a traffic stop longer just to chase unrelated suspicion, like waiting for a dog sniff, unless they have more legal grounds. Plain English. They do not get bonus time just because they feel curious. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Yeah, I can stay and answer a few more questions." Then the stop grows longer, the pressure grows higher, and the search talk usually comes next. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Am I being detained or am I free to leave?" Then the officer has to show whether this is still a real stop or just a fishing trip. Now let's talk about stepping out of the car because you need to know the difference between a command and consent. Pennsylvania v. Mims says an officer can usually order a driver out during a lawful traffic stop. That means if it is an order, you should comply. But if it is framed like a friendly request, you still want clarity. Are you ordering me to step out, or are you asking for my consent? That question protects you because it separates compliance from permission. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Sure, anything you want," and hop out while chatting nervously. Then their movements, words, and body language get used against them. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Are you ordering me to step out, or are you asking for my consent?" Then the record is clear about what was voluntary and what was commanded. Watch what happens when you ask that question. If the officer says, "Yes, I'm ordering you out," then you comply. Calmly. No sudden moves. No resistance. But you now know this was not your choice. That matters. If the officer says, "I'm just asking," then you know they were seeking consent, not giving a lawful command. That also matters. You are not arguing. You are creating clarity, and clarity protects you. This part is huge because many drivers mix up obedience with agreement. You can obey a lawful order without agreeing to a search. You can step out without consenting. You can stand on the curb without helping them open the trunk. That difference can save you later. 90% of drivers don't know what's coming next. If you're still here, you're already ahead of the crowd. Drop a comment saying, "I'm still here," because the last line ties all of this together. The sixth thing you say is the line you use when an officer gives a command and you need to obey without giving up your rights. You say this: "I will comply with your order, but I do not consent to any search." That sentence is gold for you because it does two jobs at once. It shows you are not resisting, and it shows you are not volunteering. This is 100% legal. In real life, that balance matters a lot. Let's say the officer orders you out. Fine, You get out, let's say they tell you to put your hands on the hood, fine, you comply. But while you comply, you keep your rights alive with your words. I will comply with your order, but I do not consent to any search. That line keeps your behavior calm and your legal position clear. Bad way. Most drivers say, okay, do whatever you need to do. Then later it sounds like they approved the whole thing. Good way. Smart drivers say, I will comply with your order, but I do not consent to any search. Then there is a clean difference between forced compliance and free permission. This matters because roadside encounters are messy. Audio is rough, people interrupt each other, stress makes your memory worse. One sentence that combines compliance and refusal can save you from that mess. It tells the camera, the officer, the prosecutor, and the judge the same thing. You obeyed, you did not agree. And notice what this line does not do. It does not insult the officer. It does not dare them to do something stupid. It does not turn you into a roadside lawyer. It simply preserves the truth. If they search anyway, you have made your position clear. If they do not search, you have protected your privacy. Either way, you handled it smart. Now pull all of this together with the law in plain English. Here's the reality. Schneckloth vs. Bustamante tells you that if you consent, even casually, that consent can be enough, and police do not have to warn you that you could refuse. That is why your first line matters so much. Rodriguez vs. United States tells you officers cannot drag out a traffic stop just to investigate something else unless they have more legal reason. That is why your free-to-leave question matters. Berkus vs. Tompkins and Salinas vs. Texas tell you that silence often works best when you clearly say you are using it. That is why I choose to remain silent is stronger than just sitting there. And Pennsylvania vs. Mims tells you officers can order you out of the car during a lawful stop, which is why you comply with orders, but never confuse compliance with consent. That whole package is your roadmap. Stay calm, speak clearly, refuse consent, stop talking. Obey lawful commands, protect the record. Let me show you exactly how this plays out in a real stop. You're driving home at night, lights flash behind you. You pull over safely. Your hands stay where they can be seen. The officer says you rolled through a stop sign. Then come the casual questions. Where are you coming from? Is this your car? You got anything illegal in here? The wrong way starts now. You laugh nervously. You say you're just coming from a friend's house. You explain your cousin borrowed the car last week. You say you've got nothing to hide. The officer hears scattered answers, asks if you mind a quick search, and you say, go ahead. Now you've handed over permission with your own mouth. Now watch what happens the right way. You give your license and registration. You keep your voice calm. If the officer asks to search, you say, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. If the extra questions keep coming, you say, I choose to remain silent. I want a lawyer. If the stop seems to stretch past the ticket, you ask, am I being detained or am I free to leave? If the officer says, step out, you ask, are you ordering me to step out or are you asking for my consent? If it's an order, you step out and say, I will comply with your order, but I do not consent to any search. See the difference for you. In the wrong version, you are helping them. In the right version, you are protecting yourself without resisting. In the wrong version, your words create suspicion. In the right version, your words create a record. That does not guarantee the officer stops. Nothing guarantees that. But it gives you the best shot to keep the stop from growing, and it gives your lawyer something real to work with later if it does. Next video, I'm breaking down what to say when police claim they smell weed, because that single line gets people searched every day. Subscribe right now so you don't miss it, because that one may be the most important search video on this channel, so lock these in right now. First, never give consent, because a soft yes can cost you big. Second, clearly invoke silence and ask for a lawyer, because nervous talking helps the other side, not you. Third, ask if you are detained or free to leave, because stops are not supposed to last forever. Fourth, separate orders from requests and separate compliance from consent. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Your calm words are often stronger than your panic, your excuses, or your need to sound nice. The safest script is the shortest one. Hit subscribe so you catch that weed search video next. Smash, like if this gave you lines you can actually use under pressure. And drop a comment telling me which of the 6 lines you're memorizing first. Stay safe out there.